The evening air was thick with unspoken words as Jake and Emma sat across from each other in their elegantly decorated living room. The tension was palpable, a silent storm brewing between them. The heirloom vase, a delicate porcelain piece adorned with intricate floral designs, sat on the mantel, an unintentional centerpiece to their brewing conflict. "Emma, you know how much that vase means to my family," Jake began, his voice tight with frustration. "It's been passed down for generations." Emma rolled her eyes, a dismissive wave of her hand cutting through the air. "It's just an old piece of junk, Jake. I don't see why everyone is so obsessed with it." "It's not just a vase, Emma. It's a part of our history," Jake retorted, his patience wearing thin. "My grandmother brought it from Italy after the war. It survived bombings and long voyages. It's a symbol of our resilience." "Oh, please," Emma scoffed, standing up and pacing the room. "You sound like a broken record. We have bigger things to worry about than some ancient relic." Jake's eyes followed her movements, a mix of anger and disbelief flashing across his face. "You're not listening to me. This isn't just about the vase. It's about respect. For me, for my family, for our heritage." Emma stopped, turning to face him with a defiant look. "Respect? You want to talk about respect? How about the fact that your family treats me like an outsider? They never accepted me, Jake. And you've done nothing to change that." Jake stood up, his fists clenched at his sides. "That's not fair, Emma. I've defended you time and time again. But you're not making it easy with your attitude." "My attitude?" Emma's voice rose, a sharp edge cutting through the room. "You think I have an attitude problem? Maybe if your family wasn't so stuck in the past, we wouldn't be having this conversation." The argument escalated, voices clashing in a cacophony of blame and hurt. In a sudden, impulsive move, Emma grabbed the vase from the mantel. Jake's eyes widened in horror as she raised it above her head. "Emma, no," he shouted, but it was too late. With a final, defiant glare, Emma hurled the vase to the ground. The sound of shattering porcelain echoed through the room, a devastating symphony of destruction. Jake stared at the broken pieces, his heart sinking as the weight of what had just happened settled over him. "What have you done?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "I did what needed to be done," Emma replied coldly. "Maybe now your family will realize that they can't control us." The next morning, the aftermath of the argument lay in scattered shards on the living room floor. Jake's mother, Helen, arrived for a surprise visit, her cheerful demeanor fading as she took in the scene. "What happened here?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mix of shock and sorrow. Emma, sitting calmly at the kitchen table, didn't look up from her coffee. "It's just a vase, Helen. Nothing to get worked up about." Helen turned to Jake, her eyes pleading for an explanation. "Jake, please tell me this is a mistake." Jake, torn between loyalty to his wife and respect for his mother, struggled to find the right words. "Mom, it was an accident. We had an argument, and things got out of hand." "An accident?" Helen's voice broke. "That vase was irreplaceable. It was part of our family." Emma stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "Oh, stop being so dramatic. It's gone. Get over it." Helen's eyes hardened, a steely resolve replacing her earlier sadness. "This isn't about the vase anymore. It's about the disrespect and carelessness. I thought you two were more responsible than this." Later that evening, a family meeting was called at Helen's house. Jake's siblings, their spouses, and even a few cousins gathered, the atmosphere heavy with disappointment and anger. As the discussion unfolded, it became clear that the family's patience had worn thin. "We trusted you," Jake said, his older brother, Michael, his tone stern. "You were given a position in the company, a house, a car, everything. And this is how you repay us." Jake looked down, unable to meet their eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't want this to happen." Helen sighed, her expression a mix of sadness and determination. "We've made a decision. Until you both can show that you're responsible and respectful, you'll no longer receive the financial support from the family." Emma's face twisted in anger. "You can't do that. We deserve everything we have." Helen shook her head. "Deserve? Respect and responsibility are earned, Emma. You've shown neither. As they drove home, the weight of the day's events hung heavily in the air. Emma fumed silently, her anger simmering just below the surface. Jake, on the other hand, felt a deep sense of loss and regret. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of change. They moved out of the company-owned house, returned the car, and Jake began searching for a new job. Emma, refusing to back down, continued to lash out at anyone who would listen, blaming Jake's family for their misfortunes. One evening, as Jake was reviewing job listings, Emma stormed into the room, her face flushed with rage. I just heard from Sarah that your mother is still bad-mouthing me to everyone in the family. Jake sighed, rubbing his temples. Emma, can we not do this right now? I'm trying to find a job. No, Jake. This needs to be addressed. She's jealous of us. Jealous that we're living our best life while she's still working herself to the bone. That's not true, and you know it, Jake replied, his patience wearing thin. My mother worked hard for everything she has. She's not jealous. He's disappointed. Emma's eyes flashed with anger. Well, she's not going to see our kids until she comes to her senses and restores everything we've lost. Jake's heart sank at her words. Emma, you can't use our children as pawns. This has to stop. But Emma was resolute. They need to understand that they can't control us. This is our life, and we'll live it our way. The breaking point came when Emma's words reached the ears of Jake's brothers' wives, who still maintained some friendship with her. They, in turn, relayed everything to the family. The final straw was Emma's confession that she had destroyed other items and thrown things away, claiming it was her right. The family decided to speak to Jake and Emma one more time to seek clarification and explore whether it was possible to prevent the situation from escalating further. Emma, you're not seriously going to grovel to your mother about this, are you? Emma's voice cut through his thoughts, sharp and dismissive. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her defiant posture a stark contrast to Jake's brooding demeanor. Jake, Emma, that vase was important. It belonged to my great-grandmother. It's not just some old piece of junk. Emma rolled her eyes, clearly unimpressed by his sentimentality. Emma, it's broken now. What's done is done. They need to get over it. Jake's phone rang. Helen, Jake, we need to talk. Can you and Emma come over this evening? Jake's heart sank. He knew this wasn't going to be a simple conversation. Later that evening, Jake and Emma arrived at his parents' house. The atmosphere was heavy, the silence in the living room almost palpable. Helen and Jake's father, Thomas, sat on the sofa, their expressions a mix of disappointment and determination. Jake's brothers, Mike and Daniel, were also present, their wives standing by their sides. Helen, Jake, Emma, we need to discuss what happened. Emma didn't wait for Jake to speak. Emma, it's just a vase, Helen. I don't see why everyone is making such a big deal out of it. Thomas leaned forward, his voice low and controlled. Thomas, that vase was a symbol of our family's history and unity. It's not about the object itself, Emma. It's about the respect for what it represents. Emma scoffed, but Jake could see the anger brewing in his father's eyes. Helen sighed, trying to maintain her composure. Helen, Emma, your attitude is what's most troubling. This isn't just about the vase. It's about the lack of respect and responsibility you've shown. Jake finally found his voice. Jake, I understand why you're upset. But can we please just move past this? It's over and done with. Helen shook her head. Helen, I'm afraid it's not that simple, Jake. We've decided not to restore financial support. Emma, you can't do this. You're just doing it to punish us because you're jealous of our life. Mike's wife, Sarah, spoke up. Sarah, Emma, this isn't about jealousy. It's about your blatant disregard for something that means so much to this family. The tension in the room was thick as Emma lashed out, her words like venom. Emma, you're all just bitter and resentful because we're living a good life while you're still stuck working hard for everything. Well, guess what? I'm not going to let you take that away from us. As the argument escalated, a twist came when Daniel's wife, Laura, revealed a shocking piece of information. Laura, Emma, do Do you remember telling us how you've destroyed other family items and thrown things away because you didn't care for them? That you could do whatever you wanted because it was your house? We've been patient, but enough is enough. Emma's face paled as she realized her words had come back to haunt her. Jake felt a sinking feeling in his stomach. Jake, Emma, is this true? Emma's silence was damning. Helen stood up, her voice shaking with emotion. Helen, this behavior is unacceptable. And threatening to keep our grandchildren away from us only proves that you are not fit to be trusted with anything of value. The family, unable to tolerate the disrespect any longer, decided to take legal action. The lawsuit was not just about the vase, it was about holding Emma accountable for her actions. The lawsuit created a public spectacle, further straining the family ties. Emma remained defiant, refusing to back down. The courtroom drama was intense, with testimonies from family members and revelations about Emma's destructive behavior. As the court case drew to a close, the judge ruled in favor of Jake's family, ordering Emma to pay damages for the destruction of the heirloom. The verdict left Jake at a crossroads, forced to reevaluate his loyalty and the impact of Emma's actions on his family. Helen, Jake, we love you. But you need to understand that actions have consequences. We hope you'll find a way to reconcile with us and move forward. Jake nodded, tears in his eyes. He knew he had difficult choices to make, choices that would shape his future and the legacy of his family. Jake, I'm sorry, Mom. I'll find a way to make things right. If you were captivated by the tension and drama unfolding in Jake and Emma's life, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more riveting stories. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on Emma's actions and Jake's loyalty. What would you have done in their situation? Hit the notification bell to stay updated on new episodes as we dive deeper into the complex dynamics of family, responsibility, and the consequences of our choices.